The first officer through the door, armed with a shotgun. He discharged rounds that we know that the dog was struck and killed.
Hey, Foster, just FYI, we're going to have a shooter on board.
There were supposed to be 2 suspects DOA.
Backup officers, other officers in the stack that made entry, discharged their firearms, striking that female suspect. The remaining officers in the stack started laying down cover fire. 2 suspects were struck by return gunfire by members of the Houston Police Department. Those suspects were pronounced deceased at the scene from the return gunfire from the officers.
There's a gentleman who's been on YouTube a lot.
Look, listen, you're talking about conspiracy theorists. We deal with facts at the Houston Police Department because there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there and people are going, running rampant. I want you guys, reporters, to get it right. And let's focus on the good. We lied in an affidavit. We lied in an affidavit. Let me just say this. Just because we're investigating doesn't mean we're going to find anything wrong. And unfortunately, some people just don't have a respect for the sanctity of life. I still think they're heroes. No, I don't plan on resigning. Hey, Chief, are you resigning for doing your job? Yeah, sure.
What caused the senseless murder of the homeowners in this home? What does the Houston Police Department continue to cover up and hide? Why did Goins lie on the affidavit?
News Now Houston and I were at the Harris County Jail for Goins' release on Friday to ask just that. Why did you do it?
You have anything you want to say to the families, to Goins?
Do you want to say anything?
Anything to say?
Why'd you do it, Goins? Why'd you do it?
Murder. We'll go through the line.
People want to know why you did it. Come on, coward.
There had to be some reason.
Well, hopefully along the way, I watched Kim talk about she doesn't know the why. And maybe at some point we'll get to the why. It'll be interesting. I haven't seen it yet.
Through my intensive research into this case, I've developed my own theory about why these officers did what they did. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you catch that video and other upcoming videos about the 7815 Harding incident.
If you're the ones that are out there spreading the rhetoric that police officers are the enemy, well, just know we've all got your number now. We're going to be keeping track of all of y'all, and we're going to make sure that we hold you accountable every time you stir the pot on our police officers. We've had enough, folks.
We only had 995 people that were shot and killed by law enforcement, only 47 of which were unarmed. The fact of the matter is we're doing a great job every single day.
The Houston Police Department completed its investigation into this matter in May 2019, yet they continue to refuse to release the information. Most of what we know comes from affidavits from search warrants and arrest warrants, and that's only because that information is subject to required public disclosure. Most of everything else is a grandiose narrative designed to portray the Houston police in the best possible light.
We never run away from the truth. I've never ran away from the truth as a police chief, as a police leader, and I never will run away from the truth. Regardless of what that truth is at the end, when we finish these comprehensive investigations, our number one goal is always to find out the good, the bad, the ugly, and to be transparent. Something that I'm not going to talk about here today, that I was on that scene within 14 minutes and 32 seconds after the shots rang out.
Father, can you get that narcotics squad that was involved and bring them over to the command post? Okay, we're going to be at Chanel and Elvira. Command post is at Chanel and Elvira. And we need to get those narcotics squad guys that were involved over here to the command post per chief.
Chief Acevedo admits to being at 7815 Harding Street almost immediately after these events started unfolding. It's beginning to appear as if the official story propagated by the police department was created by Acevedo himself at the scene.
The first officer through the door, armed with a shotgun, was charged immediately by a very large pit bull that charged at that officer. He discharged rounds that we know that the dog was struck and killed.
More precisely put, armed men knocked down the door and immediately started shooting multiple times. They killed the dog and they shot Tuttle's wife.
That officer was struck in the shoulder. He went down, fell on the sofa in the living room, at which time a female suspect went towards that officer, reached over the officer, and started making a move for his shotgun. The female suspect that you see there that actually was shot in the living room when she went to grab the fallen officer's shotgun.
According to the official report filed by HPD to the State Attorney General, Nicholas did not carry, exhibit, or use a deadly weapon. Evidence from the scene demonstrates that Nicholas was sitting on a couch on the opposite side from where officers would have been when she was fatally struck, likely by gunfire that came from outside, fired at an extreme angle into where the officers were standing. But their whole thing is that she is going to the fallen officer on the couch.
Yeah, that officer didn't fall over here. Okay, look at the blood spatter on this box. It's not on this side. It's on this side right here. All right? If an officer went down out here, he went over here, not over here where she's at. Okay, so this whole story about she rushed the officer, why would she need to rush the officer if she's sitting here? How is she going to do that? She's not. I'm not buying. I don't buy that one bit. And the officer, bring back the diagram of the, there you go. Okay, your stack, that's what they call it. They come in, boom, they come in, it's called a stack. The officers are here. The guy with the shotgun, there's a table right there. He's standing probably right here. He was the first through the door. So he comes in, he's going to want to put a table or something between him and the dog. Bang, bang, dog goes down. Meantime, while he's shooting, these other guys are making entry here. So now you've got 3, 4, 5 guys here. And this guy out here is machine gunning blind through the walls. This guy right here is shooting. He can see, but he's shooting. And all that there is in there, in the entire room, this room is, they measured it, 13 feet by 11 feet. 13 feet by 11 feet. It's a little bitty room. I've been in there. It's small. They're all stacked up in there, and this guy right here, full auto, 15, 20 rounds, right into that group.
Well, he probably could see the officers, so...
He knew they were there. Where else would they be?
He's been shooting the officers.
Why would he knowingly shoot the officers? And remember, this guy over here is shooting too. So who's in the crossfire between this guy and this guy?
A male suspect came from around the back and started an open fire with a .357 Magnum revolver.
However, there was no .357 revolver listed on the official search warrant inventory, which is required by state law. Did other officers lie on official documents? Just how deep does this officer misconduct go? The police department refuses to disclose who filed that search warrant return. Evidence from the scene suggests very dark activities occurring by officers after the initial entry occurred.
He was right there on the floor. Got him.
Don't fuck move!
This guy here that says 30 minutes later, 2 shots rang out. Have you seen him say that? That didn't happen. So I look forward to seeing his evidence because 30 minutes later, I was there in 14 minutes. There's no shots that rang out 30 minutes later. So I'm not going to play the game that this guy knows.
He was right there on the floor. Got him.
Don't fuck move!
When government officials tell elaborate tales and try to make everything so confusing, it's important that we stick to the facts. What do we know? Well, from the physical evidence that does not lie, we know that the bullet trajectories from the officers were crossing. And where did those trajectories match up? In the stack of officers right inside that door as they entered that home. From eyewitnesses, we also know that this whole thing happened very quickly. And certainly, we know that the government is trying its hardest to conceal information about this incident, going to great lengths, with other agencies even committing their own criminal violations to cover up information. Even had Tuttle been able to fire back rounds, he had every right to do so. In Texas, You can defend yourself from unlawful or lawful searches and seizures if the law enforcement uses, before you use any level of force on your own, if the police use or attempt to use greater force than is necessary to make the arrest or search. Which is what happened here. The police came in and they shot Tuttle's wife.
But still, when officers that acted in good faith on what they believe to be a lawful search warrant get shot at, and that's a fact, Mr. Tuttle shot at them. There's nothing in the evidence that shows he did not shoot these officers. They get to defend themselves.
Acevedo continues to push this hero officer narrative. In reality, the officers were the attackers. They entered the house with force, and Acevedo himself admits that the officers fired first. Furthermore, the law makes no distinction whether the warrant was valid or not, and whether it was done in good faith. Excessive force can be defended against.
And I know that there's a plaintiff's attorney, potential plaintiff's attorney, that'll go out and start harping on it's all friendly fire, but I stand by our investigation, and I can tell you there's no evidence of friendly fire in this case. There's nothing in the evidence that shows he did not shoot these officers.
These bullet trajectories are hard to ignore. Now, Art Acevedo is going to tell you, well, there's no evidence of friendly fire, and then he's going to go even further into the asinine to say, well, there's no evidence that Dennis Tuttle did not shoot at the cops. That is crazy. Basically, you have this narrative put out by bad cops, and then it's up to the evidence to disprove that? No, the burden of proof is on the police department to prove exactly how the officers got shot. To pervert it in the inverse, that, oh, there's no evidence that he didn't do it? That's the most political slick statement I've ever heard in my life. I mean, gosh, no wonder Art Acevedo was sweating so much during that press conference. Even though Goins has been charged with 2 counts of murder, in the official report submitted to the Attorney General, Goins is not listed as being an officer involved in the shooting. And we still don't know for sure why he signed an affidavit he knew was false. But there was another victim there in that home that day, and that's Officer Sidell Lovings. Now, Lovings doesn't fit the mold of the other officers on Squad 15. Lovings has a master's degree in an insignificant disciplinary record, and I was unable to identify any cases where he used excessive force or was subject to any civil lawsuits. Lovings was critically injured and he remains paralyzed.
We have an officer now that is still fighting life-changing circumstances, which includes paralysis from the waist down.
Their job will be, along with ours, to determine if a greater pre-existing problem existed within HPD Narcotics Squad 15.
Was this raid a plot to take Lovings out?
We recognize that our duty is to the people of this county, and that while today the focus is on Gerald Goins and Stephen Bryant, there may be more to the story.
Gerald Goins was a police officer with the Houston Police Department for 35 years. He was never promoted, perhaps due to his significant disciplinary history and multiple officer-involved shootings. On August 23, 2019, Goins was charged with 2 counts of felony murder. The court denied the district attorney's request for high bond, and Goins was released within a few hours of surrendering himself. He was in and out of jail in record time. Recently obtained sealed search warrant affidavits provide additional insight into what happened at 7815 Harding Street, and the Houston Police Department's joke of an investigation into the incident. The HPD detectives wrote that they were unsuccessful in recovering the handset, that's Goins' personal cell phone, which they didn't attempt to seize until February 20th, almost a month after the shooting. It's claimed that Officer Bryant collected both the city phone and personal phone from Goins shortly after the shooting, and then Bryant gave those phones to Officer John Lewis. John Lewis turned the city phone over to Lieutenant Marsha Todd. It is unknown what these HPD narcotics officers did with the personal phone of Goins, which was critical evidence to this murder investigation. In the January 28th affidavit to obtain the warrant to search 7815 Harding, Goins wrote that he observed the confidential informant go directly to the above location in question, where the confidential informant was met by a male from inside the above residence in question. After several minutes, the affiant observed the confidential informant leave the residents in question and returned directly to the affiant. However, as has previously been reported, the confidential informant denied ever doing that. They went back to Goins for an additional name, and another confidential informant gave all sorts of stories which eventually proved to not be true either, and that confidential informant said, "Oh well, my friend went to go get the drugs." It's story after story, but the gist of it is that no one actually bought drugs from Tuttle. In the arrest complaint from Friday, it claimed that Goins finally admitted that no confidential informant purchased drugs at 7815 Harding Street, but that he personally made the purchase of drugs there. That doesn't make any sense. If Goins made the buy, he definitely would have put that in the affidavit, since a police officer has substantially more credibility than an informant. And then Goins claimed he could not determine whether Mr. Tuttle was the person he had allegedly purchased narcotics from the day before. But in another sealed affidavit, it was revealed from the cell phone records that the cellular telephone did not appear in the immediate area of Harding Street prior to the date of the execution of the narcotics search warrant, exposing the HPD narrative that, oh, there was still probable cause. It's interesting that they elected to omit this information from their press conferences on Friday.
I stand by that. We had probable cause to be there.
Saying that they had the right to go in.
No, tell Mario Diaz it's great that he's watching and I appreciate it.
That's good.
But the probable cause, let me just tell you this. If I was investigating this, we would have done a search warrant based on what we knew. We would have done it right, and we probably wouldn't be here today. We had probable cause to be there.
Yet Chief Acevedo continues to say, oh, they had good reason to be there, and the reality is there was no probable cause. The officers who were there on January 8th admit that they observed no sign of criminal activity. The officers researched the home at 7815 Harding Street and its occupants, but they took no further action that night, clearly because they did not have authority to do so. And nothing changed between then and January 28th when they busted down that door. Did Art Acevedo make the drug buy? From what I can tell, there's no probable cause. The officers on June 8th admit that there is no criminal activity. Nothing happened between then and June 28th that would provide any sort of justification for entering that home, unless Art thinks that anyone should just be raided at any time. The sealed affidavits revealed that Goins and Bryant and others extensively utilized GroupMe for communication, sending over 700 messages in the month before the raid. It's also interesting to note that Goins had a resume in his work vehicle at the time of the raid.
But I'm not prepared to, in any way, either affirm or deny that there are other actions besides these. I can tell you, though, we have had individuals contact our office who have had prior contact with Officer Goins, and there are other complaints that we are reviewing.
Do those include stealing money?
They do.
What about drugs or guns?
They do.
Stephen O. James Bryant was a 23-year police officer when he retired on March 9th of this year. Here you can see his oath of office to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States. On Friday, he was charged with a felony count of tampering with a governmental record. After the deadly raid, Bryant went back and created fake documentation to make it look like Goins actually did buy drugs from the residents. Bryant had bags of heroin that he purported to be from Goins' drug buy. It was later determined that all of this was a fabrication, although it's unclear where exactly Bryant came by the drugs so easily.
Bryant's claims were false. He further fabricated that 2 days after the raid on the Harding Street residence, that he, quote, recovered a plastic bag that contained a white napkin and 2 small packets of a brown powdery substance that he knew, based on his skill and expertise, contained heroin. Bryant claimed he recognized the drugs as the same drugs allegedly purchased by Goins CI the day before, January 27th. That was false.
I'm working my hardest to bring this information out to everyone. It's been a dynamic week. A lot of this information, although disclosed at the press conference, I knew in advance. We're getting closer to the truth, as I've been saying, and as I get closer to the truth, fortunately, it causes them to take action. Even though they drag their feet, they're beginning to take action to bring the government criminals to justice in this matter.
Here is a diagram. We're just going to focus on the living room right here. We're going to focus on the living room right here. You have a bunch of bullet holes in the wall here, like 15 or 20 of them. So there's an officer standing here with a full auto rifle and is firing through the wall. Your entry team is stacked up in this area right here. You have another officer at this window firing in through the window this direction. So you've got an officer here firing blind. He can't see in here. He's firing into where the officers are standing. This officer is firing over Rhogena, and he could into where the officers were standing. This officer has a clear view of the room. He knows he's firing where officers are standing. Rhogena, we believe, was sitting here, and the family believes that she was sitting here, and that is where they recovered the spent round that had her DNA on it. All right, she fell pretty much dead right here. The box is here. The dead dog is here. She also has what they believe to be some buckshot wounds, stray buckshot wounds in her leg. So a reasonable conclusion is what we have in this diagram here, and this is from the family's attorney, correct? Oh, yeah.
There's some big forensic guy.
You got this from the...
Yes, from their attorney.
From their attorney. All right. Their thinking is that the stray rounds which were impacting the wall here went through this wall and then into Rhogena sitting on the couch over here. Remember, the dog is dead right here. And that box is sitting right there. So that is consistent with the round passes through her. The round struck her in her right breast and exited her left back, basically cutting through her chest cavity and embedding itself in the back of the couch right there. Now, how does the Harris County forensics people miss that? Unbelievable. So she's hit early on. Now remember, the neighbors say they heard two big booms as soon as they go in the door. Two big booms.
The first in guy, according to Art, shot the dog. He got shot in the shoulder by Tuttle, supposedly. So they're telling me that they did a no-knock raid, and all of a sudden, Tuttle's on so high alert like I am, that they come in, immediately shoot that dog, and the next thing you know, Tuttle's already shooting at him? There's no way.
And remember, Tuttle died back here. So this door was closed. These are like French doors. This one was closed. This one's open. Tuttle had to have been armed at the time they entered. So bang, bang, boom, 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 and then Tuttle draws his gun and starts shooting.
And he would have, right, he would have, they claim, oh, he went back to get a gun.
No.
That's bullshit.
There's no time for it. And then he's here, he gets off 5 or 6 rounds while they're killing him, while they're shooting him, 5 or 6 rounds, and hits 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 5 officers? Come on.
And around the same time the dog is taken out, Rhogena is killed.
Mm-hmm.
And that all happened very quickly. Around that same time, one of these officers hurt the first one in. Tuttle didn't shoot the first one in. The timing doesn't match. Based on our story, Tuttle was there. He went into the room, retrieved a gun from his bedside table, and came back and shot the first in officer. But by that time, the whole team would have been in.
They were. Remember, he got 5 of them. 4 of them. So you've already got this officer who shot the first officer that went down almost immediately. Remember, that's what started the gunfire, they said.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. So based on their story, since Tuttle had to go back and get that gun, and that would have taken considerable amount of time. Like I said, and if that was the case, their entry team would have been. Their entry, he couldn't.
They wouldn't have been here.
He couldn't. They would have been on him before he got to the gun.
They've all been up in here.
There's no way that happened.
Mm-mm.
Because they're moving in immediately. He's taking out the gun. He gets shot before he even gets to where the dog. I mean, come on, it just doesn't make sense.
No.
And there's no way Tuttle did it. Now, maybe if Tuttle did go get the gun, did he shoot someone further? Maybe, probably not.
Remember, just go back and replay what Acevedo said, okay? They made entry, 4 of them in the stack, I think he says. The first officer fired on the dog and then immediately received gunfire,
Right,
was
from
put him
Tuttle.
down.
But they claim that Tuttle went back in the back to grab a gun to do that. It doesn't. It on its face, it's asinine.
It's lies. It's lies to cover their ass. But now, in all honesty, let's just say for a second that Acevedo is parroting what he's being told, okay, and he's taking it in good faith. There's still all his command staff that are seeing this stuff have got to know better.
Well, right now I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I'm trying to understand that Tuttle shot these officers. Okay. I'm just trying to play it out that Tuttle shot even one of these off, even a single bullet that hit one of the officers. And to me, the only way he did that is he happened to be in that dining room, and that officer came in and shot the dog, and at the same time Tuttle was pulling his revolver on a holster that he was open carrying on his hip to strike that guy in the shoulder just about at the same time. That's the only way.
Here that it penetrates. He cannot see in the door to see anything that he's shooting at. He's firing blind. And then you have more firing from out in this direction.
So
right here.
these look like contenders that could have killed Tuttle.
Mr. Tuttle, absolutely. They got the right trajectory, absolutely.
But that's also where the officers were standing too.
But again, yeah, if you go back to the home diagram.
And then look at these though. Look at those trajectories.
Yeah. Pull back up to the living room. Pull back the living room.
What is the explanation for these trajectories? What story are they going to come up with?
Who's standing here? Look.
How are they possibly going to come up with a story that those trajectories were meant for a resident? Are you kidding me?
Who's standing right behind in this doorway right here? Who's standing there? 5 cops. 5 cops.
There's no explanation for this set right here. There's no explanation. They shot. That had to have been if those are correct, and I don't think that's exit paths because there's a wall right there.
No, these are entrances. You can tell looking at the.
So this guy did a lot of damage. This guy did a lot of damage. So it would seem that there's 2 or 3 of them who were in on it.
And who is the guy that took the brunt of that gunfire?
There may be more to the story.
Rhogena Nichols sent her final text message to her mother the morning of the home invasion. That message was, Monday prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for a new day and a week ahead that is full of promise and possibilities. Help me to overcome any self-defeating thoughts or habits. When I am tempted to say I can't, help me to remember that you can and I can do all things through you. Please give me strength and energy for all that lies ahead, and may I glorify you in all I say and do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.